Education and Culture Committee, and Councilor Buzzard, would you offer the prayer tonight?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here today to have our committee meeting, we ask that you keep your hand upon us to give us guidance. Also, we ask for your blessings on our troops that serve here in the United States and those overseas. We ask a special blessing for the earthquake victims over in Japan. Keep your hand upon them and help them to survive and to come out of this like you'd want it to be. We ask all of this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. We have roll call.
Julia Pets.
Here.
Don Garvin.
Aye.
Buell England.
Aye.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Chuck Costigan Jr.
Here.
China Glory Jordan.
Present.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton.
Here.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, I would seek a motion for approval of the February 14th minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We will move to reports, and we have...
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for the Cultural Tourism Report, item number 5.
Okay. We have a motion to amend the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we have career services. First of all, do we have anyone here from career services today? No? Okay. Then we will move on to the group leader for education, Ms. Knight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You all have our written report, so I won't repeat that. I did have a couple of special announcements. April the 14th. Please mark your calendars for April the 14th. That is the Education Summit that we will have at Catoosa, inviting all the superintendents from the schools to which we distribute tax funds. And we have a very special guest coming to speak. Secretary Hudecki, Secretary of Education for Governor Fallon, will be there to make remarks. And then we'll also have a roundtable on discussion about education. So April the 14th in Catoosa, and I believe it starts at 10. 9:30. 9:30. I'm going to hand...
Councilor Cowan Watts?
If you have a list, I just have questions, I have 3
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
And the
I'm going to
chairs
hand
will-
around a couple of documents. One is the dates for the first robotics competition in Oklahoma City next week. So please consider yourself invited to that. The teams that we have going are Memorial and Booker T from Tulsa, Tri-County Technology Center, Inola, Sequoia, Grove, Adair, and Salina. So those teams will be competing in FIRST Robotics in Oklahoma City next week. Then the last thing I wanted to share is that, as for some time we've been working on the new scholarship policies and have those put together. We will be doing a special mail out to all of our existing students that are on the scholarship program, notifying them of our policy. So what I'm going to hand out now is what will go into that mailing so that you're aware of what they'll be getting in the mail. We've done a cover page, just notifying them. We've done a second page that has highlights from the policy. So if they choose not to read the entire thing, they'll capture the major things that they should capture. They'll have an application form in that packet, and then they'll also have the full policy if they want to read every detail of the policy. And then letting them know who to contact and where they can find us on Facebook, that sort of thing. So those are the main things I had to report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have of me.
Councilor Watts, did you?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair. So there's 20 language classes noted in the report, but the locations were not. Are any in Rogers and Tulsa County?
I don't know that I can answer that off the top of my head, but what I do is I'll go back and email out the full list so that you all know where they all are.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank
I'm
you.
happy to do that.
And then we have the chief markers, it looks like are getting done, which is exciting. But where are we at on the ceremony, planning and like the unveiling? And I think there was gonna be like, we invite the families. Are we still doing all that?
Yeah, I think I might defer to Counselor Baker on that one.
We had a meeting last month about that.
And I believe Corey was there.
Yes.
Yes.
And they were to contact members of the Ross family to schedule
Okay.
a marking for the John Ross.
Do you have any updates on that? We can get an update to see if a date has been identified and let you know.
Because I think all of us wanted to attend, if at all possible, so an early mark your calendar, even if that changes, I guess, if there's tentative. My last question is on the, I emailed you about a breakdown of the Sequoia High School ACT scores by grade.
Yes. We typically do that in each monthly report, so let me make sure.
I only saw a summary, so if I've, like the overall average for the entire school for everyone, that's the,
Okay, maybe we did that in past reports because it's not in this one. We can certainly do that.
thank you.
Do you just want that in the regular report?
It would, that would be best.
Okay.
Because then we can see it, and I don't have to bother you.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Counselor Hoskin?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The new scholarship form, does that reflect some of the streamlining you told us about earlier where you don't require the blue card necessarily, you're going to cross-reference that?
Yes, and we will verify the blue card. We used to require a copy of the driver's license as well. So we're going to accept the blue card as ID. And we'll verify that. They won't have to provide a copy. We will also accept them electronically, which is not spelled out in the application, but
Is it going to be some online form that they submit, or will it just be email type?
it can be
Submission.
attached and emailed. So if they wish to scan their material and email it to us, that's acceptable too.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're moving to an online form. Our first stage is to get electronic records in higher ed, get all of the current files scanned. The online form will have to be incorporated at a later date. We hope to get that next cycle.
Okay, thank you. I also want to tell you I appreciate the data that you provided to me. I actually had Shelley distribute it to all of the committee, but what I was curious about, because I get phone calls, and I'm sure we all do, people who had a really great fall semester, some of them maybe not so great, but a lot of them great fall semesters. For whatever reason, even though it's spelled out to them plainly, the deadlines and the requirements, they missed that January 14th deadline. And they're denied, because that's the rules. And they didn't follow the rules, and so that's the consequence. So I was curious about how many students this affected. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the document that was distributed shows that 31 students had a complete packet, but it was not submitted in a timely manner. It was submitted sometimes after January 14th. All 31 of those were denied a scholarship for the spring. Is that
I
right?
believe that's the case, yes.
Okay.
And that is after working with them to see if there are any extenuating circumstances and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the extenuating circumstances are also, at least examples are given in the document, and the hospitalization is one. Just as the term means, extenuating circumstances, not ordinary, I forgot circumstances, I got busy circumstances. I guess my concern is we've got students who did really good, and the bulk of what they're required to do is to be good students, and they did that, and then they messed up. And the consequence for that is not you lose some of your funding, you lose every bit of your funding. And so it may be too late to even consider it this semester, but, and I no doubt, because you guys have been very thorough in how you kind of analyze these various rules before you adopt them, but I hope we consider something kind of middle ground where we say, look, you missed the deadline, there's going to be a consequence, but you did good last semester. So you're gonna get half your scholarship, or you're gonna get a quarter of your scholarship. You know, I have some constituents who call me and say, or at least their parents call me and say, my kid messed up, he's a freshman, he makes mistakes, but he had a heck of a good fall semester, and now he gets 0 from Cherokee Nation, and that's difficult for families. Obviously, if they follow the directions, they don't have to worry about that, but they're human, and they're also teenagers, and it happens. So I'd like to see us give some more thought, because I'm sure some thought's already gone into it, some more thought to some sort of consequence that's short of you lose every nickel. You get some in the spring. So I think that still incentivize them to pay attention to the directions, but it wouldn't leave some of them in, I think some of them get in pretty dire straits when the $2,000 that they were counting on don't come in. So anyway, if you have any comment, I'd appreciate hearing it, but I know you guys take these rules very serious, and I appreciate it.
I do appreciate the input on that. I certainly take that back, and we'll have a discussion about it and try to see if we can reach some middle ground. Deadlines are interesting to deal with only because you must have one of some sort, and there must be consequences of some sort. We found ourselves pulling the deadline there for a period of time, and I don't know, it hadn't been that far back, so I'm sure everyone remembers, and it almost makes for an unmanageable program, so certainly we don't want to go there. But I think that, you know, there are things we can put into place and maybe try to reach those students that are doing well otherwise. And it's a small population, so I'll take that back and discuss it with the staff. I do appreciate you bringing it forward.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Cobb.
Along those lines, when you look at that, I know we had a conversation earlier in the week or last week about community service hours and all that, and I'd just be interested to see how many kind of fall into that
On community service?
gap, to the hours they're supposed to put in, how they fall.
I think we did have a list in that report of the ones that failed at least to file the form for community service and were not
I know
funded
ours
in
was like
spring.
an hour, like, they did it, but it wasn't all of it, that kind of deal.
Yeah, sometimes they're just not fully responsive. They attempted to do it, but maybe weren't fully responsive. And again, if it's, you know, if there's circumstances out of their control, or the organization they did the hours for just didn't complete the form properly, we'll try to work with the student, you know, to address those situations.
That answers my question there. That answers it. Thank you, appreciate it.
Counselor Fulbright.
Yes. I have a question or a comment. I need some clarification. Previously, the graduate students, it was listed that they were only going to be funded for 6 semesters. Does it say that anywhere in here? Well, is it that way?
And we haven't changed it. So that may be just an omission, because I don't think we specified it in policy.
I just wondered.
That's a good point. We
So-
did not change the policy, so it's still 6
Okay,
semesters.
that's
So
what I want to know.
we'll add that.
All right. Counselor Buzzard.
Millie, on the motor vehicle tax grant for scholarships or for projects, I see we did 14. Did we expend all of the funds for those 14?
Very nearly. I believe there's a balance of about $2,000.
And it was like 300,000 in that?
It was about 287, I believe.
287. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Fishing Hawk.
Millie, explain the bullet point number 3, where it says there's no residency requirements for Pell eligible students, but all others must reside within the Cherokee Nation boundaries or contiguous counties.
That is true. We only fund at-large students that are Pell eligible.
When at-large that are Pell eligible,
Yes.
but everybody else must reside within the Cherokee Nation.
Right, so if you're not Pell eligible, you must reside within the boundaries and/or the contiguous boundaries.
Okay.
Counselor Garvin.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. On the tag money, how does it
Yes.
compare with last year? Up, down, or
A
that's-
little bit down from last year, and what I can do is email out the distributions, we made the allocations, so I can email out the list to you, that'd be helpful, and you can look at it by county. They are slightly down. We've seen the tax revenue overall, you know, it had been going up. When the recession hit, we saw that that was affected as well, the overall tax collections. And then the grant has a slight effect as well.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Seeing none? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have, I see Ms. Kelly is here from Career Services, so let's go ahead with Career Services this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow is the Cherokee Nation Legislative Day at the state capitol. For those of you that may be going up there, several people have left out this afternoon and we're out up there to put the displays up. One of my long-term employees, some of you all know, Louise King, has accepted a job with the Veterans Administration. It's a step up for her. She's a veteran, she's a Marine, and she applied for a position over there with the Veterans Hospital. So she's going to be leaving us as of this Thursday. And we're having a going away reception for her from 3 to 5 this Wednesday over in the finance office. For those of you that remember Louise that would like to come by and wish her well. We are also hosting the State Job Corps directors and the school board members here this week. There's about 12 or 13 of them that'll be coming in. We'll be meeting with them. And then we also have Dr. Reed and Dr. Woody that's going to be meeting with that group on the International Learning Styles Conference. It's going to be held at the Broken Arrow campus in July. And our Job Corps Center is going to be used as one of the models for how we have taken our classrooms and converted them into Learning Styles concept classrooms. We've been involved with conference calls every other Thursday with the Department of Labor on the onboard strength for all the centers with the Obama administration and coming under fire with the economy, and they want to make sure that all the centers are full. Our center has been full at capacity. We get new students in every week, and so far we haven't been hit on any of those calls. And I told Jay, I said, keep this momentum up. I don't want to have to answer on any of those conference calls. So he and Delbert and them are doing a real good job. The president of Connors will be meeting in Tulsa for interviews on the 26th and 27th. They have narrowed it down from a panel of about 40 applicants down to about 7. We'll be doing those interviews in Tulsa on the 26th and 27th with the president of Connors State. We started taking applications for the Summer Youth Employment Program this week, and Jeff and his staff are busy working on that as well as the day work training. We've got the new Learning Center. All of the things are up on the walls, everything's ready to go, and they'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony Thursday, March 24th at 2 o'clock over here at the Learning Center, so all of y'all are invited over for that. On the 24th and 25th of this month, we will be doing a joint meeting with the Roads Department and Charlie Soap and Community Development with the county commissioners, and I think I mentioned this at one of the other meetings. Councilwoman Fish and Hawk had suggested this, and the chief liked the idea, and with the new districting, we decided that we probably needed to do that because we don't want what happened in Adair County with some of these other counties to happen. So Michael Lynn's going to be presenting the IRR and the road agreements, and then we're also going to be talking a little bit about the economic development for some of those roads and making sure that we hire some of our Cherokee citizens. We also had a really good turnout for the annual, or I don't want to say it's an annual, but it could be, our resource fair that we held at West Salem Springs last week. We had a trickling effect throughout the whole day. I think there was probably more that came through in the morning, and it just kind of tapered off in the day, but we had people there all day from up till 3 o'clock. We have one scheduled April the 7th at Catoosa from 10 to 3, and we want to invite everybody to come out for it if you can. Do y'all have any questions?
Councilor Jordan.
Do we have any local applicants for the Connors position? when you say local,
This county or surrounding counties?
yeah, there are some from the surrounding counties.
Muskogee,
Yes,
Warner,
yes.
is who I think it is.
Well, he's on the alternate list. If some of the others don't come through, I know who you're thinking of.
Okay. He didn't make the
Nope.
last one?
He didn't make it. What we did is, everybody was asked to do their points. I think you're talking about the state senator, aren't you? Anyway, he came in about 12th. And the top 10 were the 10 that were gonna be interviewed. And I think with Lou Watkins was there, I think they had already interviewed one of them out of the 10. And there were some things in the application that were not correct. So it went down to about 7. So there's gonna be 7 that are gonna be actually interviewed over the weekend.
Were there any others from Connors that are teaching there?
There may have been one more, but I don't think they made the top 10.
Ramming?
I'm not sure. I don't have the names in front of me, but I'll be glad to give you all the names.
If you'd pass that along, I'm just
I can.
interested in keeping up with that. That's where all my family graduated from.
I'll be glad to do
started
that. Okay. Any other questions?
One of my people over in Adair County was told last week or the week before that there was no day work program, that they'd shut it down for a while.
That they shut it down.
Yeah, y'all shut day work down for a while.
It might have been for one day. They don't do them on Fridays. That could have been the day they came in there. I don't know. I really don't know. I can follow up with Jeff, but as far as I know, it wasn't shut down.
It just surprised me when he said that.
They do the actual applications on Monday, and sometimes they do them the week before, and then they place them the week after. But on Fridays, they don't place anyone. And it could have been that Friday when they went in there.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Don.
If you've got a name, I can follow up on it, but
I looked
you don't have
through
to
my
tell me the
emails
name, you
and
tell
find
me
out.
afterwards.
Counselor Buzzer?
Diane, how are we processing along on this new grant that we have where we're paying employers 5 to 6 months to employ some people? I know last month you reported that you had good luck placing 5 or 6 with some company, but
We don't actually pay the business. We reimburse them at a rate up to 75, 50, or 25% of the wages, depending on what kind of position it is. We are doing excellent on it. We made some changes internally, and we took the vocational manager and put him over those 3 job developers. And he has a lot more linkages out there, and he's actually got more contracts in the mill. And by the time we go down to Dallas, the end of the month, right now, we probably have more than the state of Minnesota on the conference call that we did last week. I think we edged them out on the number of contracts. I think we've got about 24 contracts. We have 24 contracts in the pipeline, and I think we've got about 11 other businesses, but we don't have the people to actually fill them. In fact, there's supposed to be a conference call at 3:30 today with Mr. McPherson out of the state workforce. We can't get that information out of the state workforce, but the state of Arkansas has been making referrals to us down in Sallisaw. And when we announced that on that conference call, they said, well, if Arkansas is doing it, how come Oklahoma can't? And we don't know what the problem is, and that's why McPherson's having this conference call with us, because he said that that's not right. He said there's got to be some way that they can work with a cooperative agreement to give us that information. So we're having problems with the state of Oklahoma.
but, could you give us a number on how many we may have placed this next month or so?
Yes, I can.
It'd be interesting to see. And one more, that grant was for how much, $1.5 million?
I don't know. I don't want to say that it was. Let me check on it. But we have 100 slots that we
Oh, you
can
have 100
place.
slots,
Mhm.
yeah.
We have
Okay.
100 slots.
Thank you.
Counselor Fulbright?
Yes, thank you. I didn't get the date when Michael Lynn was going to meet with county commissioners.
It's the Thursday, March the 24th, from 10 to 1 o'clock. It'll be at West Siloam Springs for districts 1, 2, and 3. And Friday, March the 25th, it'll be in Catoosa from 10 to 1, and that's for districts 4 and 5. Now, we did not invite the county commissioners, say for instance in Ottawa County, we didn't invite all 3, we just invited the 1 county commissioner that works with us on our part of the jurisdiction. So in those counties that are split out, you won't have 3 county commissioners there, you'll only have the 1 or the 2. Any other questions?
Anyone else? Guess not. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Head Start. Ms. Thompson is here today. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, everybody. I'm ready to field any questions you have over the written report.
Are there any questions?
Well, if not, I have some information. We did finally receive our report, and we made 100%. Yeah, we are so excited. If you can be happy and sad at the same time, we did Dance in the Street, and we got 100%, and there's less than 1% of all Head Start programs nationwide that accomplish this rating, so we're very excited. And thank you. And I brought this binder to share with you because I don't know if people realize how complex a review is and how difficult it is to get that, so I'm going to take this time to really brag on the team that I'm privileged to work with. The same set of questions apply to each site. This is the binder for that. This is asked at Inola, it's asked at Brushy, wherever. It's not one set of questions program-wide, it's one set of questions at every site. And so to really pull that off at 100% speaks volumes for the team. So I want to share that with you. It took a lot of time commitment on the entire team, not just the cooks, not just the maintenance men, but you could go up there a month before the review and see everybody working on the weekends getting ready for it. So it's really inspiring to see them be so committed to it. And it happens every 3 years, so we've already started for the next review. We have to do that. It's amazing to me what all happens in that 1 week and how many reviewers, and it's good that we have a diverse group of reviewers because then they can leave here and be an advocate for Head Start, because the irony in all this is that we got 100% and now we're fighting for our money to maintain our funding. But if more programs can reach 100%, they can see that Head Start is a working, effective program. And we have 4 programs in Oklahoma that are due for a review this month and next month, and we're going to do all we can to help them succeed. They're going to come here and visit and share documentation and so forth, forms, and help them reach 100%. But as a result of that 100%, tomorrow we've been invited to serve on a National Oral Health Work Group because our health screenings are so impressive. They want to know what we do, and I have to say it's because of our advisory boards, such as the Health Advisory Board that is comprised of all the pediatricians and dietitians, dental hygienists, and so on. All of them working together and making sure that all of our screenings are done. So anyway, all that to say, we appreciate anything that you all have done with us in the past to make it work. They are so impressed with the Cherokee Nation. They leave here knowing that it is a sophisticated operation, and they are amazed at what all we can get done when we work together. Any other questions?
Councilor Buzzer.
Yes, Verna, I have a couple of questions. First of all, if a Head Start quits or moves out of the Head Start Center, do we go back and fill that slot? Say this month or next month?
We have 30 days for the slot.
And we do go back and fill them then?
Yeah, except for 60 days before Head Start closes, we do not, because that doesn't allow us time to fulfill all the screenings that need to take place. If we did fill it, we wouldn't get them all done, and that data would hurt our records. So nationwide, we are recommended to not fill positions 60 days prior to closing.
And what's the total number of Head Start centers that we operate now?
We have 66 classrooms all together, Head Start and early.
66 and early?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, what are we anticipating for next year? Are we seeing a reduction in funds from the Head Start program, or?
That's really hard to answer today. I know that we have a lot of folks going to battle for us to keep the funding. I've heard 14% and 22%. This weekend, I saw where Head Start was getting cut $1 billion. I mean, it's just really hard to say. We're hoping for the best.
And just one last comment is and I said it last month, and I'd like to really emphasize it again for the Head Start kids about them Cherokee language. I know you told me last month that wherever they can teach it, they do.
Yes,
I think it's a
everywhere.
great program. I've got some little 3-year-olds that's there in Jay, and they can come up and talk quite a bit Cherokee. So
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad to
It's
see
part
that.
of their daily lesson plans.
It is part of it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, always has been.
Okay, thank you.
Are there others? I guess not.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we have leadership, Mr. Enlow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Submitted my February report. You guys should have that. Couple of things I wanted to follow up on. Councilor Fishing Hawk asked last time for the engagement survey results. So I emailed that back out, which is a breakdown of all of the answers and how they responded, but I also provided today a chart that shows by group in the overall satisfaction, or not satisfaction, but the engagement score for each group. And that is just a summary of the group. If you would like any further breakdown, I can provide that, but it shows you which groups and how they scored in total engagement. The other thing I would like to share with you is we've selected our bike riders for the Trail of Tears Remember the Removal Bike Ride. And I'll be formally announcing those at the next meeting. But we've selected 12 riders to ride from here, and we have 5 riders that will be joining us from the Eastern Band, so we can share our cultural differences and learn from one another while we go on the bike ride. This year we'll be leaving that first week in June and arriving towards the latter part of June. The other thing is there's a group of us that have been working on summer camps. I know you're probably starting to get questions about when summer camps are. I will send you a listing of every camp, but what we tried to do this year is to combine all of the camps information together so we can announce it to the public. We've also gone back and we've analyzed which camps we were conducting in which areas and how many kids were participating in each. And so we've combined several camps, and our target is to have 5 weeks of camps, and they'll be day camps. Those 5 weeks we plan to reach 200 students and then culminate that with a residential camp at Sequoia. And so beginning June, first week, full week in June through July 15th, we will have a series of camps that focuses on health, culture, education, and healthy living. And so our goal is to start marketing that next week once the kids get back from spring break. Applications will be due the first week in April. We will make selections and contact them the first week in May. But I'll send all that out to you formally later this week.
Councilor Jordan?
Yes, Todd, I think last month I asked you if you would send us some more information on the Cherokees that are applying for the jobs and why they are not hired.
Okay. I am starting to work on that. I don't have the complete answer yet, but I just got information back earlier today about the number of applicants that are in the system today and what the breakdown is, and we're looking at education and feedback on those now.
Well, specifically what I'm looking for is an example of what you have here for January 2011. I'd just like for you to take where we hired a non-Cherokee and break that down as to whether a Cherokee applied and what was the reasoning of the department for not hiring that Cherokee. And I would like for them to go into depth, not just lack of education or lack of experience. Tell me what they didn't have education-wise and what they didn't have experience-wise. Because it seems to me that we're getting a whole lot of, or at least I'm getting a lot of complaints that the Cherokees are not getting any kind of chance to get some of these jobs. Now, I think it's more the jobs at C&E, I don't necessarily believe it might be the jobs at Cherokee Nation, and I think, is this probably Cherokee Nation?
This is just, the data that
Okay.
you have is just Cherokee Nation.
And so I may be speaking to the wrong person, and I'm going to take it up with David Stewart also. But I was under the impression, for example, at CNE, that we had classes that could teach our Cherokees the jobs that they needed to do so that they could get those jobs. And I'm still being told that we're hiring a lot of non-Cherokees. And in fact, that our percentage continues to drop. And I'm very concerned about that because we have Cherokees that need jobs, and those jobs are being created, I understand, under the Jobs Growth Act, and the requirement is we put Cherokees in them. And so to the best of our ability, we need to be hiring Cherokees first. And if they need some training, let's get them the training, but let's get them in the jobs. Because once we hire a non-Cherokee for a job, most all of you all should realize, we're not gonna let that person go. They're here. They're not being told at the outset that when we have a Cherokee that qualifies, we're going to let you go and we're gonna put a Cherokee there. And I think maybe we ought to be telling them that. We ought to be up front with them. Because I want Cherokees to be hired. And if you could break this down and give us some indication of what our Cherokees are missing that brings somebody else in that's a non-Cherokee, that's being paid with Cherokee dollars, I'd appreciate it.
Let me follow up on that. There is actually a large group that's working on that between the government and the businesses of trying to make referrals. So if they don't get selected for a position, that they be referred back to Diane Kelly, potentially for some additional work or skill building or resume building or interviewing skills, whatever it is that may be the barrier for them to gaining employment. So we actually have a very large group that's going back and looking at this data from around the board, from the position types to experience, and we are trying to rectify that. And so there is a fairly sizable group between the businesses and the government that are working together to try and increase the Cherokee hire rate.
And again, I apologize to you if I'm talking to the wrong person, because I think probably, in large part, I may be talking to the wrong one, but I will take the same.
I'm part of that group, so we're all working on it.
So maybe you can
Yeah.
make Mr. Stewart aware that that is a concern, and I don't think it's just my concern. I think there's more on the council that are concerned about that. Jobs is a big issue, and to the extent that we can, we want them filled by Cherokees.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilor Buzzard?
And I think Councilor Jordan just summarized what I'd like to also see, Todd. The other thing that, as I was looking at the report, we hired 12 Cherokees in January. Total hired was 15. There was 3 that were non-Cherokees. But what I'd be interested in is seeing what the job titles that we didn't hire non-Cherokee in. Now, I understand it could be a doctor or a pharmacist or an engineer, attorneys and stuff like that, and those are hard to fill positions. So, and I realize that. You know, working here before, I know what goes on in some of those positions. They're just not out there sometimes, and I understand why those numbers are in there. But I'd be curious to know what job description.
That is what we're trying to do when we go back and do this analysis, is look at which jobs we need to go back and add to our hard to fill or hard to recruit positions so that we can target those.
And so these numbers include the hires at Hastings Hospital?
Correct,
too.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there other questions? Councilor Thornton?
I just have one comment. Todd, I know in Catoosa, the director of food up there, and beverages, he was a non-Cherokee. He was brought in here from Nevada or Arizona. And I've had a couple of visits with him, and he understood that when he left, you know, that he was going to be replaced by a Cherokee. And so he did leave here last month or a month or two ago. He was replaced with a Cherokee, and I appreciate that. And I also know that one of his understudies came in and he filled a Cherokee position with a Cherokee. So It's happening, but it isn't gonna happen just real fast, I don't think.
Yeah, we are taking, we're trying to build a succession plan for all the positions so that we can try and have Cherokees ready to go in to any position that currently doesn't have a Cherokee in it.
Yeah.
In regards to the meetings that Todd was telling you about, last week I was in West Salem Springs on 2 different days last week. I've been spending a lot of time with C&E the last several weeks. And one of the things that we're in the process of doing is, for those of you that were up there at the meeting that we had about 3 Sundays ago, is we're looking at taking some of their existing employees and anybody that's coming in that we're recruiting, and we're going to do some short-term training with some of them so that we can build some career ladders, so that some of these people coming in food and beverage primarily, because that's our target area, is that we're looking at these career ladders so that people can come in and they can look at getting their foot in the door, and they may start out as a waiter, but they could also get some training on how to do bartending or how to wait tables or how to do banquets. So the chefs at the 2 facilities, primarily Siloam is our pilot, we're looking at doing some short-term training through the VOTEC, and we're going to filter Cherokees through that training, and then even existing people they have, so we can get these career ladders built. So we've got somebody that's working on that piece of it, and we're also getting ready to sit down and work on this training piece of it. We've started doing this here in the last 5-6 weeks, so we're moving very fast on this, because every week we're having meetings to try to get all this worked out, and hopefully within the next few weeks we can come back and tell you that we've got some things set up and ready to go.
Is that it, Counselor Music? Or Counselor Thornton?
Yes.
Okay. Counselor Fishing Hawk.
Yeah, I have a question, Todd. How long does it take this succession plan to work? Can you give us some timelines on it? And number 2, can we see a copy of it? Because I know we've asked for C&E succession plan several times over the last 2 or 3 years, and we've never gotten a copy of it.
I know that, I'll get you some information. I know that one of the things they're looking at is trying to, not just upper level, but almost any position. So some of them are formal, some of them informal about succession planning, trying to backfill every position and have somebody ready in case, if I left today, who would take my position? If the head of our housekeeping crew left tonight, who would be there to take their place?
Well, Todd, I know we've been harping on this since I've been on council, and I'm really quite curious, because if you was to hire 3 non-Indians tomorrow, they're not going to sign nothing that says, I'm going to train somebody, or are they? Maybe I'm wrong.
I do not know on that. Let me check.
Well, who do you think would know?
What, you mean at C&B, at the businesses?
No, here, in government.
I don't think there's anything in place at that.
Okay, because
Right
like I
here.
said, I know this council has been harping on it, like I said, for several years. And that kind of bothers me. Another question, something else I want to address. 4 years ago, I was in a meeting at Joe Grayson's house, and the chief got up and talked, and he told us, because somebody in the crowd asked him about these jobs that are being filled with non-Indians. And the chief said, I've got an answer to that. We're doing this succession plan, and here's what we're going to do. Let's take C&E, for example, is what he used. If they hire a non-Indian, we're going to make them sign a contract. He said, I'm going to do it at the government too. And it says they're only going to be here X number of years, say 3, 4. And during that time, they're going to bring somebody along and train them and mentor with them. And the end of 3 or 4 years, they're gone, because they're going to sign a contract that says that. This was going on 4 years ago. I have asked about it, and everybody says, no, we don't know what you're talking about. And the chief talked about it at Joe Grayson's house. So I'm taking it, and he never followed through. So could you follow up on that?
You bet.
And can you get us a hard copy of the succession plan you all have?
Okay.
Counselor Watts?
Thank you. I think a lot of this work, because it's personnel matters, goes on at the Cherokee Nation Businesses Board meeting, and also the committee, the subcommittees, well, I guess it would be just a committee to the board. But there is succession planning. I think originally there was maybe an intent to actually have these contracts signed, but it didn't quite work that way in the end. If I recall correctly, those are then part of the incentive plan is the training and the succession planning and the retention of Cherokees, whether they're a Cherokee citizen or a non-Cherokee citizen. If they're in a leadership and hiring role, the way I remember it, it is actually part of the trigger for their bonus structure without going into any further detail. So I think that's the way the golden handcuffs are, so to speak, are put on to make sure that there's an investment in the nurturing of our employee base and our staff. So I wouldn't say that there's nothing in place. I think but I don't know what they'll be able to share that would be any part of public information, because those are actual, I mean, even like the detail of who is in the succession is a potential, it's a personnel matter, so. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilor Fisher-Hawk?
So I guess in a nutshell, it was never followed through with.
I'm sorry?
So in a nutshell, it was never followed through with, what I talked about.
I do not know. I'll have to verify that and see what we do have
I
in
want the
place.
short, sweet answer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one other note, I mentioned it last meeting, but the next Tuesday, March 22nd, we will have our leadership summit between the businesses and the government at the West Salem Springs Casino, starting at 10 o'clock. So I just want to remind you.
Councilor Fisher-Hawk.
I'd like to add to that. I know here a while back Stuart done it for us. Would you give us an org chart of Cherokee Nation from the chief on down? And what they did was they took David Stewart, the vice presidents, all your upper level management, and they highlighted them blue for Cherokee, yellow if they was, blue was citizens, yellow if they was UKB or Eastern Band, another color if they was a Native American, and they didn't highlight them at all if they was non-native.
Okay.
Could you send us out that, please?
Yeah, I think there will be 2 colors on there.
Councilor Jordan?
Would you expand a little bit on this business summit that's going to occur March 22nd?
Oh, the March 22nd, basically, what we do, since budgets, we're getting ready to go into budget season and planning for next fiscal year. What we do is we try to meet with our leadership teams from throughout the Cherokee Nation, let them know where we are, how we're doing, what the outlook and the forecast will be for the future. And then we also will have a special guest speaker that's going to talk to us about how to design and build a happy and healthy community as well. So speakers will talk about the overview of how we're doing, where we are, and then the outlook and the forecast from a budget perspective, so that all of our leadership team across the board knows how we're doing and where we're going.
So this meeting, March 22nd at 10 o'clock at West Salem Springs, is your leadership group?
Yeah, well, it's like director, group leaders, management team from Cherokee Nation government and its businesses. There'll be about 250 to 300 people there.
And it's going to be at West Salem Springs at 10?
Correct. And it'll be from 10 to 2.
Okay.
Councilor Baker?
Yeah, Todd, I assume this was to make this make more sense? Is that?
Yes.
Okay. And is it the same for all the pages? I mean, the same groups for all the pages or just that one?
I'm not sure I understand that
Order
question.
of them.
Well,
Is that what
you gave a new copy for employees engagement survey results by group.
Uh-huh.
And there's another one, response rate by group.
Correct.
And so, but it's the same, in the same order.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Should be in the same order. Yes, sir.
And who did this survey?
We did, meaning leadership services, part of our employee development.
Yeah.
We did paper copies and we did online surveys. And we had about,
So this was internal, not that outside group you're paying to poll or whatever?
no, we're not doing anything with any outside. We did it with,
Yeah, you had something at Locust Grove where this outside firm was paying people to come in to answer surveys and you see a bunch of employees up there.
that might be a different group that's not part of leadership services. Is that? Okay.
Do what?
was the staff that was working on those surveys of attendance?
No, the Cherokee Nation paid citizens to come in, paid them $100 to come in to be polled or focus groups, and the memo that I saw, they were gonna have an opportunity to make $100 several times, and some group from Colorado.
I believe that's part of the communications group that was doing that. This particular survey that we did was done in the summer and fall, and we asked every employee by group, and so we targeted each group. And I think our response rate was around 82%. And so out of all of the employees, so this actually, what this survey itself does, we did it internally, and what we asked employees are those questions, 12 questions of, do you feel like you're part of a team? Do you feel like the rest of the team's pulling the work? Do you feel like you get praise and recognition?
I'm trying to get some clarification, but your third page or whatever, it's got group size,
Yes.
and it's groups over 50 and groups under 50.
Mhm.
So, and the dark blue is the groups under 50, and everything in here is blue. So does that mean all the groups?
Oh,
are
no,
less than 50?
that was another analysis that we looked at, because what we were trying to determine is if, say for instance, health has 1,600 employees and leadership has 35. Is there a difference in the size of the group that you work with? Is the engagement greater or lesser because you're in a very large group? And so we just did a different analysis. So that one is, the color coding on that one is just different on that particular
Okay, so
breakout.
so none of these really tell you whether the group is large or small.
No, sir. Sorry.
Okay. But we didn't pay anything for this one.
No, we did that all internally.
The Cherokee Nation just paid for that.
We did that with SurveyMonkey, which is a free online tool, and we also did paper copies with existing staff.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Counselor Fishing-Hawk.
Yeah, and I got one more question. I was wanting to know, how many jobs outside of gaming have we made for our citizens this past year? This year?
Okay, I'll ask David that
And
question.
where they were made at. You know, we bought that company up in Colorado, and I think it has, what, one Cherokee up there out of 300 or 400? To me, that don't mean we've created a job. Okay, two. Well, yeah, we bought two companies, but one of them had like one Cherokee there out of 300 or 400. To me, I don't want that included, because that's not creating jobs for us, because we've just been told we're not gonna get rid of them anyway. And we got non-natives in there. But I'm very curious to see how many was outside of gaming and where they were. Please. Thank you.
Counselor Hoskin.
Oh, the paid survey had piqued my interest too, and that's when I raised my hand, because I had a question about that. But I wonder, and this is probably directed towards you, because you didn't have any role in it, but I wondered if we could have some report on that. I don't know if the Rules Committee is the appropriate one, maybe not Education Committee, but it piqued my interest that we're hiring an outside firm to pay employees, I think, as I understand it, to give some sort of focus group type participation, and I've been remiss on not asking more about that, but that kind of was puzzling to me, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Jordan.
That focal group being paid piqued my interest, and about a month and a half ago, I did a GRA asking that we see the results of it and cost and anything else associated with it. And Paul, I probably need to point this question towards you. Pat asked for an extension of time, and I think that extension of time is probably
expired.
If it hadn't, I think it's
Can we ask for
pretty
another?
close. Really, I'd
I
just
can
like the
follow up on
information
that.
if he would pass it over here, because I think there's other people that appear to be interested in it, and I would like to share that information with folks here on the council.
Sure, I'll follow up on that, get an
Thank you.
answer. Okay, we're going to take one more question from Counselor Crittenden. We are running close to time
I'll be
here.
very brief. I didn't know she had asked for that information. But I would be interested in what line item that money came out of and how much it amounted to. And if she gets the information, it'll be in that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. And we have cultural tourism, and Travis Owens is here.
Good afternoon. I think everybody got a copy of the written report, correct? Everybody have a copy?
Are there
Alright.
questions?
I'll just highlight a couple of areas and then I'll open up for questions. We just finished up the remodel of the Telequad gift shop throughout the complex in February. We'll hold a ribbon cutting ceremony for that on April 5th. We are still working to finish the transition of the lobby and everything. That'll be finished in the next week or so. Also, Cultural Tourism assumed operations of our second Welcome Center that was operated formerly by the state in Catoosa. That Welcome Center will reopen this spring and will house office space for our Cultural Tourism staff, as well as operating as a Cherokee Nation Welcome Center. Also, we are hosting a East to West tour again. Got one coming up in June, and then we are going to be redoing the Fall Festival tour in October. We are also working on a tour trip to England to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Cherokee's delegation to England in 1762. That will be coming up in 2012. And then we've also just completed the new e-commerce site for the Cherokee gift shops, and so now that's up with new merchandise and artwork and everything like that. So I'll open up for questions.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I don't know if the rest of the council received this letter, but I received a letter from a gentleman, well, I won't name that gentleman, but I think all of you all probably received the same letter of concern about the Cherokee Heritage Center possibly being taken under the Culture and Tourism Group, now handled by CMB. And is there any truth to that happening? Has that been discussed?
There's been some discussions, but I don't know the specifics, but I can get that information to you all.
And I see Paula's wanting to...
I just wanted to interject. It actually is an issue to discuss during the executive legislative conference with the principal chief. So that may help answer any questions that you might have.
Paula, I really think the public is...
Well, and it
really
will, I'm
wanting
sure it
to
will, but
know
as
about it.
he stated, it's like a one discussion has been had. So I knew there were some questions about it, so the chief was going to talk about what discussions has been out there. But it's in discussion, nothing's moved forward. So it's not to be hid.
So there's not been a vote taken by the board?
My understanding is maybe one
through the
meeting, one
executive
conversation.
branch? Okay.
And you may have something in addition to that, but what I understand is just preliminary.
And I know Meredith and Jack act as I don't know if you act as our advisory members or if you are actually members of that board, but maybe they could enlighten us too as to any information that they might have. People are very concerned about this, and so I want to stay on top of this from the word go. This was the first I'd heard about it was at 4 o'clock this morning.
Well, and that was, someone notified me today, and so I asked the chief if he'd like to talk about it today, and he said absolutely. And Mr. Baker may have something to add at that meeting as well. But I have very little information
And I would
myself.
certainly defer to Mr. Baker if he has some comments on it.
Actually, there's been some preliminary discussion to possibly the ancient village to be managed by Cultural Tourism with no change in staff, but that's all very preliminary. That may or may not happen. But I also received a letter, and most of it is wild rumor. It isn't happening.
So Jack, you and Meredith as members of that board and also members of our council will keep us up to date on that issue?
Yes, we'll be happy to.
That it? Okay. All right, Councilor Fulbright.
Thank you. I have a question. It may seem trivial. I may be addressing it to the wrong person, but who actually decides on what items are going to be sold over there in the gift shop? My point being, when I was at the Eastern Band gift shop, I bought several of those Cherokee Silberry scarves, and everybody wants one, and I've inquired about them selling them over here, and I was told that C&E decides what's going to be sold and what's not going to be sold, and I may have been given the wrong answer, but they said that scarf is made in China and they're not going to order it. And it's something that I think will be a very popular item, because every time I wear it, I get a lot of response from folks wanting to buy one like it. So actually, who makes that decision?
That is a decision made internally using cultural committee and things like that for items. But in respect to what you just discussed, those items are being looked at right now. In addition to new T-shirts and apparel and things like that, we're also looking at getting some items like that in our gift shop as well.
Well, I think it would be a real moneymaker because they're a little bit overpriced at the Eastern Band. So, thank you.
Counselor Hoskin?
I withdraw.
No, okay. Counselor Fishing Hawk?
Yeah, I got a question about cultural tourism. I know y'all sent out it comes out with your CNE profit summaries, your P&Ls. I'm looking at 2009. I pulled it from old files and it shows we lost $2 million on it. 2010, we lost $3 million. In the first 4 months of this year, in your report this month, we've lost $1 million. So in 28 months, we've lost $6 million on cultural tourism.
Okay, I don't know specifically the numbers.
Well, I'm giving them to you because
Okay.
this is CNE's.
Okay, and that could be a portion of operating and capital expenses, but we can prepare a summary of those to detail that.
Okay, when this was started several years ago, I was in a class and I partnered part of the time with the chief and another friend of mine that I knew. And I remember when it was being written up, and I think Linda Turnbull Lewis was writing a lot of it up, give us a lot of the information to us. And I had asked then, I said, how's this going to be funded? And I was told, well, Jody, we'll never make any money. We're always going to have to subsidize it. I said, with what? And they said, well, grants from the government. And I'm not seeing any grants from the government, which kind of concerned me because I thought, well, are they going to give us, the state? Because they've added a few rules around about maybe we could have a tourism tax, like the state charges on restaurants and, hotels. And there was just a lot of discussion. Like I said, I was involved in it. I remember reading the whole report. And like I said, at the time, they said it'll never make the money. But they never did say it was going to lose millions.
Okay.
Could you please check into the first figures when that happened, what we projected? Because $6 million being lost is a pretty good chunk of change.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Cobb?
You skipped over this one, which is fine. It's not sure it's probably preliminary. On this Cowboys, Indians, and Oil Barons tour, who are you talking with in Bartlesville? Do you know that by chance?
I don't know that person, but I can get that to
Hey,
you.
can you
Yeah.
let me know? And the second thing is, I know this is, in the scheme of things, very small, but since we are talking about the gift shop, if there's any discussion on the hats, those hats, micro bill hats that we put Cherokee in OSU and OU and NSU, can we look at some more standard hats? You can sell a whole lot more of those hats. Those hats are just not, I thought it was just me till I was actually in the one in Catoosa and somebody made the same comment. I didn't know who they were. They made the same comment. They're not.
So just the
your
style of them?
Yeah, they're not your standard baseball cap.
Okay.
I thought it was just me and just a tourist made the comments that I'd buy that if it was more of a standardized hat. I know that's not a pressing problem, but
Okay, we can look at it.
I just threw it out there. So. Scarves and hats.
Counselor Watts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you do the review of the financials, I think, if I recall correctly, it is the significant investment of purchase of properties or the retrofitting and renovations. So I'm not quite sure if those financials you have to account for them, there's any, I'm not sure how we're counting our accounting principles on them. So maybe if there's a way to isolate out those actual capital investments where we're preserving properties like Celine Courthouse, the John Ross School and those things, and separate those out.
Yes.
Even if we actually have to account for them in the final financials, I think that would be more telling of how productive your group's been.
Okay.
Thank
And I
you.
think that is some of the financials are, as treated one way as CNE, but because they're improvements to assets owned by Cherokee Nation, they then come over to Cherokee Nation's assets after the improvements have been made. So we'll definitely look at that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Looks like that's it. Thank you very much. We move to old business, there's none pending. New business, there's none pending. Are there any announcements? Seeing none, I would entertain.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.